You're listening to the Fan Club Podcast, where two polar opposites discover each other's fandoms for the very first time.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Fan Club Podcast. My name is Sarah.
This is Matthew.
And this is episode number 18.
Can't believe we've been doing this for 18 weeks now.
As he said just before we hit record, our podcast is now old enough to vote.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
And if I sound a little bit more nasally than normal, it's not allergies this time. I'm actually sick. So today we will be covering Black Panther. This was released in 2018 and directed by Ryan Coogler, or I'm guessing it's Coogler. Did you see this movie when it first came out?
Yes, so I've seen most of them in theaters when they came out. There's been a handful that I haven't, like Black Widow I didn't see in theaters.
This was in the handful of films that I had zero knowledge of.
Yeah.
Going through. Obviously, a few years ago, Chadwick Boseman unfortunately passed away, so I knew Black Panther was a thing, because that was a big news story, him passing away.
Yes.
So it will be interesting to see where they're gonna go in the future.
So I'm looking up some of the stuff that he has directed. He directed all the Creeds.
Never seen him.
So the
Ryan Coogler.
Yeah. So Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone's.
I know what you're talking about. I've just never seen it.
He did Space Jam. The new one.
That terrible dumpster fire of a movie.
And he's done a few...
Sorry to the Space Jam stans. I know you're out there.
He's done a lot of weird stuff. He's done a couple things for Disney. He did something called the Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian, so the quote-unquote behind the scenes.
The art, maybe?
No, more interviews and stuff
like a featurette. Yeah, this was in the handful of films that I really had zero knowledge of going in, because I don't know, I just, outside of the core Avengers, there are certain people that I had no idea Falcon existed before getting into these. I had no idea War Machine existed before getting into these.
That's the thing, from the comics, Black Panther is a major part of Marvel Comics, or coming up with, Phase 6. He's a big part in...
It's insane that we're starting Phase 6.
No, we're not starting Phase 6.
Well, no, I mean, Phase 6 is on the horizon, is what I meant.
Yes, so Marvel, every few years, or every year, they will release the next couple phases.
It's just nuts to me that, I guess we've been doing this since 2008, so...
And we are recording this shortly after Comic-Con.
Yeah, so a lot of things have been released in the last few weeks.
Yes.
I don't really have, I try to...
You were trying to avoid them. I've seen most of the trailers
Just
now.
a little bit of understanding for you guys, behind the scenes for me. When anything Marvel comes up on my timeline, on any app, I'm, putting my fingers in my ears and going, la 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 la.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to see any of it, because I don't know what could be an inadvertent spoiler.
Yeah.
At the time that we're recording this, I've already seen Infinity War, so to be fair, I was hopped up on Dayquil, so...
So that's the thing. Going forward, after, let's say, No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home, there aren't any spoilers from anything else. So as long as anything you see from, WandaVision on is not really spoilery.
Yeah, well...
For you.
But here's the thing. And I've said this a million times, I feel like we can do, take a drink every time I say this, but, I like to go in as blind as I can.
Yes.
Because I feel like I enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, but going forward, I'm also going to be going in blind.
There are a handful
Because I will be seeing them for the first time with you. For the rest of Phase 4, or Phase 5 and 6, I'll be seeing with you. So the only thing that we both will have knowledge on, besides me having the comic books knowledge side, all that we'll have to go off of is the trailer. We won't have anything else for Ant-Man, where I could say, it is really funny. I don't know if Thor Love and Thunder is funny, because I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it to come to Disney+.
With all of this, Comic-Con stuff, I can't personally speak on it, because I haven't looked into a lot of it.
I am really looking forward to a lot. So, they're changing how the Avengers movies work. So, how the Avengers movies are, at the end of a phase?
See, I like that.
It's the end of the saga. So, what they're going forward is kind of like what they're doing with Endgame and Infinity War. where it's one giant group movie instead of multiple little group movies. Like, the Avengers
I don't know if I love that, honestly.
It's more, because it's the multiverse saga, so it's more from different multiverses. Which
it's gonna hurt my brain.
Yes, it will. No Way Home will hurt your brain. But it's going more, just from what I can understand from it, just from the little bits that I've seen, they're going in an amazing way with it. Because we've seen somewhat of the multiverse with seeing a little bit of the quantum realm in Ant-Man.
That's a whole other rabbit hole that we could spend an entire podcast on. Is eventually, once I'm kind of spoiler free, we want to go into
more on like the gritty,
more into probably more current events, dissecting some trailers.
Yes,
that
eventually.
Eventually, but we can't really do that right now.
We can once we hit No Way Home. We can.
I did, like, one of the big things I really liked about this movie was it was such a departure in so many ways.
It was a very different vibe compared.
Well, yes, it was a very different vibe, but also you're getting, and I don't want to dwell too much on this, but this is kind of the elephant in the room, is that Marvel has been largely white. I mean, I'm speaking as a white person. We're both white. But I do really appreciate that not only do we get more diversity, it's also we get a large amount of African culture as well. I'm not entirely sure how plucked from actual African tribes and stuff it is.
I think the language that they were speaking is an actual legitimate African dialect. I could be wrong, but I think I've read that it is based.
I have read a couple of things that suggest that some of the costuming was made by indigenous folk.
Yes. Yeah.
I do really like how this movie specifically really goes. Obviously, it's creating its own lore because Wakanda is a fictional place.
Yeah.
But it is kind of.
There could be a place like that in Africa.
But
we don't know.
But it's borrowing from actual African cultures.
Yes.
And I admittedly don't have a ton of knowledge on these things.
Yeah, I don't either. I know more of Greek and Norse.
But
not in some Egyptian.
But I do really love that not only is this movie extremely colorful, but it's also very, the costuming is very different.
The cinematography is really great.
Yeah. I love the way that they use, like, the tribal makeup to, like, because there's, like, the different tribes of Wakanda.
There's do you remember how many tribes? Or
there was
how
too
many? There's 4 that are within.
I thought there were, like, way more than that.
No, there's the mountain tribe.
I do really love that. I will say, however, with all of that being said, this wasn't one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Just as I enjoyed it for what it was, but it doesn't, I like the movies that kind of fit into the whole.
But
this one doesn't necessarily, I mean, obviously he plays a big part in Civil War.
But also remember Civil War is before this.
I know.
But this plays a bigger part for Infinity War.
I like the movies that kind of, like, the individual movies that, like, okay, in Ant-Man, you learn about Scott Lang, and then he plays a role in Civil War.
Yeah, they should have.
I like those.
But it was more to show the area for Infinity War.
I do really love that we learned, and kind of going along with the whole diversity thing, is we learned, like, I've said this before, I think when we were talking about Sokovia, is that we've seen so many different places. It's not just the U.S.
Yeah.
And obviously Wakanda is fictional.
Yeah.
But we learn, there's so much world building in this movie, and we learn so much about Wakanda's industry and about
their socioeconomic standing, how the entire world,
how the world views them,
because I mean,
or lack thereof rather.
But for centuries they've been hidden. They didn't want the world to know where they were.
Yeah, they think it's a third world country.
Yeah.
But in reality, it is this thriving metropolis with these, you know, crazy
amazing
industries
weapons,
and
ships. I have to say their ships are on par with how they move and control, like, the Asgardian ships.
And they're relatively wealthy, too.
They've made all their own stuff, so they don't trade with other countries.
And we'll get into it, but I am straight up a Shuri stan.
Everyone is.
She's amazing.
Everyone is.
She is incredible, and
she is...
nothing bad must ever happen to her.
Her attitude is more of like a millennial. Of how she acts and talks and walks and things like that. She's more millennial.
I mean, she literally makes a "what are those" joke.
So Black Panther, in the comics-wise, was introduced in 1966.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what else was going on in the 1960s? What else was happening in the 60s?
The Black Panthers.
Stan Lee got a lot of heat from...
I was wondering if the name was inspired by the actual...
No, it was not. It was more...
And again, admittedly, I am not super up on my Black history, and I apologize.
From what...
That's on me.
From what I can remember from reading, like, an article on it, it was more... He wanted... There weren't a lot of black superheroes at that time. He wanted one.
Well, especially in the 60s.
Yes. So, he got a lot of slack for it from, like, the editors and the other creators. And
I mean, good for Stan.
he said there wasn't any real correlation between the black... Because he debated changing the name.
I wonder why they went with it.
He was naming him more off of the costume and not him.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But his first appearance was in Fantastic Four issue 52.
Matthew just got this book called the Marvel Encyclopedia, and...
I got it more for the comic book heroes and villains that I don't really know a lot of.
We just thought it, first of all, we thought it would be cool to have.
Yeah, because it's literally every single hero and villain. Like, I can go
I haven't
any
actually
page,
flipped through it yet. But...
Like, they talk about different comics... They talk about random people, even...
That's what he's going off of right now.
Like, even even Betty Ross, who's not even a hero.
But we got this primarily so he could read off comic book stats for the podcast.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can get that information off of the internet, too, but we thought this book would be cool to have. But anyway, we've been chatting for a while. Let's get into the actual movie.
Yeah.
The movie starts in this really cool animation that is basically a vibranium meteor hits Africa and formed Wakanda.
Yes.
And I really felt the cinematography was really cool in this scene.
With the...
I don't know how to describe it, but like
it was like a drawn sequence.
But like the figures, for lack of a better word, are almost like sparkly. They almost look like they're made out of like diamond. Basically, we learn the origin of Wakanda and the origin of the Black Panther.
Yeah.
And it basically the vibranium meteor what is it called? The purple herb?
No, so the purple herb was already there. So all 5 tribes were at war to own the vibranium. The one from Wakanda, from that one tribe, the Panther tribe, prayed to Bast, the Panther god, and then told him where to go to take this flower to get pretty much the super soldier serum.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if it's similar.
It is. The super serum is based off of that flower.
Like, actually?
Yes.
Because it makes me wonder. Obviously,
that's how Howard got the vibranium.
That makes sense. Killmonger burned all of the flowers. But it would be interesting to see if that didn't happen, what they could have done.
So pretty much that's the
thing. They could have made like healing things with it.
No, so it's not so much healing, it's more it's the super serum. That's what it is. The super serum is made from it. So
then we flash to 1992 in Oakland, California. And so T'Chaka, which is T'Challa's father, visits his brother, which is one of the guys, and Nunjobu. I really apologize for the name.
We're going to be butchering all of these names. I'm just telling you this now. I apologize.
We are trying to do our best.
Yeah. His brother was going over there for a quote-unquote war dog mission, which is more of like spying on America, just to learn more about America and see if Americans would welcome Wakandans.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at the beginning of the scene, we don't know.
We don't know that.
We don't know that he's Wakandan. We don't know either one of them is Wakandan.
No.
And we don't know that the other one is I always get these two mixed up. The guy in the
Forrest Whitaker.
Yeah.
Which he's not,
No. I know.
Yes, we don't know that.
We don't. Shuri.
Yeah, Shuri goes there to talk to his brother, who
they figure out that he stole some vibranium.
He knew that he did.
Yeah.
So he was wanting, because they knew that he helped Claw steal a half-ton of vibranium.
Mm-hmm.
Which, half-ton is a lot of vibranium.
Actually, I kind of, in retrospect, actually really like this plot twist later.
Mm-hmm.
That we figure out who this guy actually is. Obviously, we know that this is Killmonger's dad. But I do really like this plot twist in retrospect.
We learned that Black Panther sent us another spy to spy on his brother. Because Black Panther sort of knew that his brother would lose faith in Wakanda after he got with an American woman.
Because he had a child with an American.
Yeah.
And we basically keep getting these flashes of these kids playing basketball outside.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm like, why do these kids matter? We figure out why. We figure
learned
out that it's directly after Civil War.
About a week.
And they have...
where we're at right now.
And because, T'Challa, or T'Chaka,
mm-hmm.
was just murdered. And so T'Challa needs to assume the throne.
So he's Black Panther right now. He was a Black Panther for his dad because his dad was too old.
Yeah.
But he wasn't king. Usually the Black Panther is the king and the Black Panther at the same time.
Yeah.
They're one and the same normally.
They need to go get Nakia, who's played by Lupita Nyong'o, who I love.
No idea what she's in.
The first time I've ever seen her in anything was in 12 Years a Slave.
I've never seen it.
God, that movie is depressing. But...
Yeah, what do you expect? It's called 12 Years a Slave.
But it
you
is
expect it to be, like,
so...
upbeat?
That movie is so incredible. So she's on this mission to, like, stop human traffickers.
Yeah.
Which, frankly, sorry, T'Challa, I think it's a little more important than your coronation, than your girlfriend being in your coronation.
It's more, they still stopped the human trafficking. But it was more to also let her know that the king is dead.
This is true.
Because she didn't know.
We go to Wakanda.
Yes.
And we get introduced to, arguably the best character in this entire movie is Shuri, his little sister.
Yeah. So we get introduced to Shuri. We get introduced to a little bit more of Aoki. Okoye. But
Shuri is his little sister, and she's like a freaking genius.
She's the smartest person in the MCU by far. Like, she absolutely
She needs to work with Tony.
I would say work more with Bruce than Tony.
I just feel like they could create some really interesting things.
She put Bruce in his place with...
But she's amazing, and
yeah,
they have such a, like, incredibly realistic sibling-like relationship where, like, she, like, flips him off.
Yeah.
Which I was reminded of you and your sister a little bit, just in, like, the dynamic.
She was introduced in May of 2005.
Then we go to London, and we meet Eric, who we later figure out is Killmonger, and you will hear Matthew's beef with Killmonger.
He is the dumbest villain.
He's got some, like, messed up motives.
Like, with him destroying the purple herb, he could have, I don't know, sold it, or, I don't know.
Helped people.
Honestly, he wanted to help people. Which I think, yes, morally good.
He wanted to take out his anger at the violence in his community by creating more violence.
Yeah. Like, he could have given...
And, like, before we continue on that train, I want to, like, say that, like, we both come from very privileged backgrounds in order to, like, not have to be in that environment. At the same time, like, I don't believe that it is right to...
You can't fight violence with violence.
No, you can't. And, like, I fully recognize that this is a vicious cycle. And I am extremely lucky to have never have witnessed this stuff. I just wanna say that blanket statement right off the bat.
But you can't fight violence with violence. It just
We don't learn his motives yet, though.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, you can't...
So, he poisoned the curator's coffee.
Or, I don't know if she was a curator, or...
The museum worker.
Yeah. A museum worker who specialized, or who might have been in charge of the African exhibit.
But... he's basically like, where does this come from? Where does this come from? And they basically figure out that there is a...
No, he knows that there's a Wakandan weapon. He knows. Yeah. And so she's like, it came from this part of the world. So he's like, no, it didn't. It came from Wakanda. And then he kills everyone.
And we get the return of Andy Serkis.
The Claw. Sorry, I had to.
I knew it was going to come up sometime. I was just waiting.
I got my one out. So, if you remember, his hand got cut off in Civil War, which is why he has that weird...
almost like rubber.
Have you seen The $1 Million Man?
No, I don't even know what that is.
It's like this old TV show where... Or it's like this $6 Million Man or something like that, where... Or like Inspector Gadget, filled with like a sonic blaster. You see him get coronated.
This whole coronation ceremony is crazy, like, ceremony up on top of a waterfall, and like everybody's...
It's in the waterfall.
Yeah.
So do you know the significance, importance of a ritual like that?
Do tell.
So, every time there's a new king, people from the 4 tribes, or technically the 5 or the 4 others, send their best warrior to fight for the king's position. To be king.
And this one is M'Baku, which is the leader of the Jabari.
Yeah, the gorilla people.
They basically give him this potion made from the purple herb, and it strips him of his powers.
No, so it's not made from the purple herb. It's made from other herbs, but it removes the powers of the purple herb.
Yes.
From the purple flower. To fight as a man.
Sorry, the heart-shaped herb. I keep calling it the purple herb.
It is purple. It is purple, so I'll give you that. So we see that fight, and Baku...
It's pretty intense. M'Baku?
And Baku taps out, because their tribe still needs a leader.
Like I said in the beginning, I really like this scene for all of the colors and all of the diverse fabrics, and I really love because I'm not entirely sure what to call it, the mask, the headdress that Shuri is wearing, that kind of wrapped around the front of her face.
It'll be a headdress.
It's really cool. Looks very uncomfortable, but each their own.
I really like the face paints and stuff like that.
I really like how T'Challa has like the panther like markings in mud. Yeah. I think that was really cool. So basically they have this like ceremonial thing where he gets buried in this like red sand. Yeah. And
so they talk with the ancestors while
they give him the heart-shaped herb again to get his powers back. Yeah. And he goes onto the ancestral plane where he talks to his dad, which is giving me Simba speaks to Mufasa in the afterlife vibes. I thought this scene was gorgeous in terms of its cinematography. It's lots of purples and like beautiful sunsets. Yeah. And, like,
I mean, that's what the ancestral plane, in most mythologies, that's how the ancestral plane looks. It's supposed to be like at peace. And purple is like a quote unquote like peaceful color.
He needs to go to Korea to stop.
So they learn that the claw is in Korea.
It's in Busan.
Yeah. So they go and try to get him, and we see Ross again.
Well,
not General Ross. Not him.
First we have Warwick Shuri. Yeah. And she shows him the new Black Panther suit. Yeah. And we learn about like the kinetic energy. And she makes a "what are those?" to anyone who didn't have the internet in 2016. This movie came out in 2018, but that joke seemed old.
But Vine was still going on at that time.
But
that was probably the most popular Vine joke out there.
I'm just saying, if you don't get that joke, that joke is clearly not made for you.
They go to Korea, and
they basically go to this like casino hidden behind like a food stall. Yeah. And we see our Stan Lee cameo. He's at a craps table.
That's right. That is right. I forgot.
I've never been to a casino. I've never gambled. I don't know anything about how to play craps, or I didn't even know those like giant red stick things were involved. So they basically find Agent Ross, and I was confused because I'm like, is this General Ross? Because it's a different actor.
No. Forget that guy. Forget General Ross.
I just think it's interesting they have the same name. I love Okoye. I love how she basically disguises herself in this like red evening gown with like a wig, and she has like her staff or her spear like hidden in her bracelet. And she like, as soon as she basically her cover is blown, she like whips her spear out and she like throws the wig off.
Yeah, I hated that wig. And then we got another cool fight scene.
I love this chase in the car, I love that Shuri is remote driving it from Wakanda.
Which is awesome.
And there's another scene like this in Infinity War, which I think is really fun. Or is it in this movie?
No, it's in this one. Yeah, it's at the end of it where he's
Oh, that's right, it is in this. We watched this movie and Infinity War like one right after each other, and so I got them mixed up.
But we also he gets new Akoi beat or
I didn't write that down. Oh, Kamoya.
Yeah,
Kamoya bead.
Yeah, he gets a new one where it's he can talk anywhere in the world.
And they also heal. They have they're made out of vibranium.
Yes. No, it wasn't so much to heal, it was more to stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
But not to heal the wound.
So they arrest Claw, whatever. And what song is he singing? What is love?
Yes.
Baby, don't hurt me.
That song. In the most off-tune version that I have ever heard. We see the mask that Eric stole from...
That mask has got to be worth so much.
Probably. But we learn more about Claw. That he's planting little seeds in Ross's head. That Wakanda is not this third world country because they made it out to be where Claw stole all of the vibranium.
Yeah.
Not a 0.00001% of the vibranium. Their mountain is full of vibranium.
So, basically, they break Claw out of jail. Ross is shot in the process. They put a Kamoya bead in the... I don't know if I'm saying that right.
They put one of the black beads on his wrist.
No, it's in his spine.
No, I know. No, from Black Panther's wrist.
Yeah.
There, and then Shuri says, another broken white boy.
Which I was confused about at first, and then we learned...
Everyone already knew.
Oh, that's right. Oh my god, I'm dying.
Yeah, because Bucky's there.
It was... No, I know, but it was... I forgot that it was an end credit sequence.
Yeah, Bucky's there.
Was it Civil War?
Yeah, Bucky's there being reprogrammed. He got reprogrammed in a week.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 weeks. Because I don't know how long this movie takes place. I'm not sure. I would say, 4 days? Most Marvel movies take place in, less than a week, generally?
Yeah. So Claw dies.
Yes, so Eric, kills Claw, kills the other dude, and kills his girlfriend. Because he was using Claw to get into Wakanda. And the only way he could get into Wakanda is with Claw's dead body. More of
because this is all a long con.
Yes.
To get into Wakanda because he wants to take over.
Yes.
Because he thinks he's the rightful heir.
No,
I don't get that. I don't get that logic at all.
He's not. His dad
was not the king.
No, his dad was the younger brother. It would be like Prince Harry's son tried to take over the crown.
It would take so much it would take so many people for Prince Harry's youngest son to be king. It would take so many people to die that, if we're going with this logic, it would take so many people to die in order for Eric to be the rightful king.
Eric still wouldn't be king because then Shuri would get it.
Exactly. So Eric had T'Challa's grandfather's ring, which basically is kind of a red...
Which T'Challa saw on him.
It's the big,
plot twist.
That they figure out that he was N'Jobu.
Yeah.
N'Jobu's son. And they basically figure out that the gangs and the violence radicalized him. Which is...
he worked for Ross.
Yeah, it is an honest, that is an actual thing that does happen, that the, violence can radicalize people.
But he was blaming Wakanda for not stopping the violence.
I think it's a flawed logic.
There's no logic to it, though.
I in some ways understand the original thought process. I think he took it way too far.
No, but that's the thing, there is no thought process. Why go after people that have no say in what happens? Why not go, I don't know, stop the violence at its core? But why go after a country that doesn't have a say in the violence? It's like, if there's violence in Texas, I'm going to go to Oklahoma to stop the violence in Texas.
Yeah, it doesn't really...
It makes zero sense.
So his uncle helped Claw, I'm never going to get his name right, steal the vibranium.
Yes, which we kind of talked about earlier.
Yeah, and we figure out that Eric is T'Challa's cousin.
Yes, because of the grandfather's ring. And then we learn that Eric is a super killer.
So he basically has all these dots all over his body, all these scars.
And each one of those is a kill.
Which is bonkers bananas.
There's more than 1,000 dots on him. So 1,000
Why is
confirmed.
this man not in prison?
Because he worked for the military. He was a independent his team, called the War Dogs, was an independent contractor for the military. So kind of like what Ross was talking about. They were trained to go in, throw over a government, destroy the crops, and become the new leaders. That's what they were trained to do. Ross literally trained him to take over Wakanda. Which is why he was surprised that Eric was there. Because he said, Eric's not Wakandan, he's American. Which is that whole conversation.
So we figure out that Shuri basically healed Ross.
Yes, in a matter of overnight.
Which is the possibilities of what Shuri can do.
Is astronomical.
It's insane.
She literally reprogrammed a guy. Also, when you think about it. She reprogrammed Bucky.
I don't know, like, I really hope that she plays a large role later.
She does.
Because she could do so much.
At least in the comics. I don't know what they're going to do for Wakanda Forever. I haven't seen that trailer yet. But at least in the comics, when Black Panther dies in the comics, she takes over as Black Panther. In the comics. I don't know if they're going to do that in Wakanda Forever or not. I don't know. But we will find out when Wakanda Forever comes out in I think later this year. That's when it comes out.
So, Killmonger challenges T'Challa to a battle.
Which
I'm like...
It's already been done.
Yeah, right? It's already been done.
Yeah, but...
Why do you have the say to do it?
Because T'Challa won't back down from a fight. And if T'Challa does, it shows his weakness and that he's scared. So he's playing with his ego.
And T'Challa gets stabbed.
And thrown off the waterfall.
And Zuri steps in and also gets stabbed, and that's bye-bye Zuri.
Yeah, which we learn that, sure, he blamed his uncle, T'Challa's father, for the death, when it was really Zuri who betrayed
Lawrence Fishburne.
Forrest Whitaker.
I don't know why I can't tell these two apart. I'm really sorry.
One has a lazy eye and one doesn't. Or a droopy eye and one doesn't. One was in the Matrix and one was not. So
technically, Killmonger is the king now?
Yes, because people think he's dead. That Black Panther, that T'Challa is dead.
There's a whole scene where he goes to the ancestral plane. Killmonger goes to the ancestral plane to talk to his father. While this is like on the surface kind of a heartfelt scene, I wish I could care. I wish I could sympathize.
No, because Killmonger's doing everything from the wrong. If he went to Wakanda peacefully and said, "Hey, I am your cousin. Black people in America, I
need help.
Can we go help?" Instead of
like, "Hey, you have the resources and the power to help.
Yeah.
Please help us."
Instead of stab, 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 I'm king now.
What are you solving other than stroking your own ego?
Because what he's wanting to do is fight fire with fire.
You're just creating more violence and perpetuating the cycle.
Yeah, but that's the thing with vibranium. Do you remember the biggest trait of vibranium? The only thing that can damage it is vibranium. That's why Cap's shield being hit with bullets never dented.
Well, and that's why, like, during Civil War when Black Panther...
Yes. So, vibranium shields and weapons can't be damaged by bullets and guns, kind of like adamantium with Wolverine. The only thing that can damage it is its own material. And
here is, like, one of my biggest beefs with Killmonger is that he instructs them to burn all of the flowers.
Yes. Like, he literally...
He basically is, like, killing off the Black Panther line.
Yes. Because he thinks he's going to be the last one and that he's going to live forever.
Which I'm like, logic, my dude.
Like, he could have kept one for his offspring. But Killmonger's probably the dumbest villain in the MCU. Civil War's villain had a better reasoning than Killmonger does.
And they offer the herb to M'Baku.
And he said no because T'Challa is still alive. He's just...
in a coma.
Yes.
In the snow.
Yeah, they put him in a snow-based coma.
So,
I was going to say medical-based.
There's a scene where T'Challa in his coma is with his father.
So, after he drinks the...
Yeah.
herb.
He's in the ancestral plane.
Yeah.
And this scene, his father's basically being like, you have to choose. It's very, like, end of Deathly Hallows when Harry goes to meet Dumbledore. And
where
Dumbledore's
you have to choose, do you want to stay or go? Or his father is saying, you need to stay here. You're dead. And he's like, no, there's more to do. And he's like, why didn't you tell anyone about his son? Your brother's son. He's like, well, I needed to keep that lie. If he brought Killmonger, Eric, with him, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
All this is because of an arrogance of a old man.
I love that Shuri managed to, like, keep the necklace that the Black Panther suit is in.
Mm-hmm.
She's very smart. And I love her.
Of course she is.
She's a
genius.
Nothing better happened to her. And if all y'all who were waiting with bated breath when I was saying how much I loved Peggy, and did not warn me.
I told you
I'm not allowed to love a character anymore because then they get killed.
You love Groot.
I know, but spoiler alert for Infinity War.
I am Groot. I am Groot.
Teenage Groot is so you. He is so you. Not that you're a teenager, obviously you're not, but like, you are, Teenage Groot is how I imagine you to be as a teenager.
Pretty much. I am Groot.
It's Gamer Groot right there. Matthew has a Funko Pop of Gamer Groot.
Yeah. It's a GameStop exclusive.
The challenge is not over because T'Challa is still alive. All I'm saying is that if I stand Shuri, does that mean she's going to die?
Probably, because everyone he likes dies.
I'm gonna be mad. They better not hurt her. I love the scene where Ross remote pilots the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I made it American style. What does that even mean? Is it automatic and not stick?
He's flying a spaceship. There's no stick shift in a spaceship.
But what does American style mean?
I don't know. Maybe.
Like the controls are on the right side, or whatever side it needs to be
Probably. I don't know. It's also a spaceship, so I don't know. American eyes would probably be if he was driving like a car, he would be on like the left side of the car.
So, the fight scene, the climactic fight scene between Killmonger and Black Panther, the CGI is awful in this scene. Can I just say?
Yeah, I mean, we just came off of Thor Ragnarok, where most of the aliens were CGI'd.
Thor Ragnarok was good, though.
But that's the thing.
The CGI was good.
The CGI and all the other fight scenes in this movie were good.
Was this movie rushed or something?
No.
Because that, like, especially the sequence where they're, like, falling down the hole, for lack of a better phrase.
No, that was fine. It was the fight on the train track.
No, I thought that was better than them falling. Because it was giving, Deathly Hallows where Harry and Voldemort are, wrestling and their faces are melding together. If you know what I'm talking about, you know it's bad. And if you like that scene, we have, beef.
It was weird. It was a weird CGI. Like, the rest of the movie was crystal clear.
It just looked like a bad video game rendering.
Yes.
In all honesty.
Yes.
It looked like somebody let the intern do it.
But like,
I'm sorry, that is so mean. I know CGI takes a long time.
But that's the thing. It was only in like
that one sequence.
Yes. It was just that one scene. And then it goes back for like the other fight scene on the train.
Weird thing
it goes back to normal.
Okay, so earlier in the movie we figure out that this tunnel or the train
that carries the vibranium.
It basically neutralizes the vibranium, for lack of a better word.
No, so it's the sonic around it.
I feel like I'm losing my voice, and I'm really sorry.
It's the sonic from the trains. It doesn't neutralize it. It just weakens it because
but
vibranium.
The CGI in that scene, where like you see their suits kind of like melting away in parts.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah, it's just that
the fighting is terrible.
It's when they were falling. Yeah, when they were falling into the giant hole and then fighting around the train track. It was weird. But all the other fight scenes after that were great. Were CGI'd, were amazing. So I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
it's still a good fight scene.
No, and it still gets the point across and everything. It's really jarring because everything else in this movie looks so good.
We go from crystal clear to.
But like all of the ships look amazing.
Yeah.
All of the costumes look amazing. All of like the CGI, every other scene, and this movie is heavily CGI based, as all of the MCU movies have been.
This one was more for the area,
but like
not so much for the people. It's not like Guardians or Thor.
This movie has been fine up until this one sequence, and everything after it is fine.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. It could have been a Disney Plus issue. I don't remember it being that bad in the movie theater. So it could have been a Disney Plus thing. I don't know. I'll see if I can find that scene on YouTube.
I have very rarely seen, and I will say it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
No.
I've seen far worse CGI.
Cats.
All I'm saying is I have learned to expect, like, so much from these films.
Yeah.
That I'm surprised that got, like, let through quality control.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same as with, Spider-Man's 8 years later.
Yeah, exactly. It's like these little
things here.
And I'm not gonna say that I could do it better, because I couldn't.
Yeah, no. I don't know.
So Killmonger gets stabbed, and T'Challa takes him up to watch the sunset as he dies, which...
Because his dad always said sunsets at Wakanda are the most beautiful thing you will ever see.
Yeah. Which is a little sweet, but T'Challa, he does not deserve it.
But at the end of the day, he was doing something that he believed was right. But T'Challa agreed with him. Not with his motive, but with his reasoning. Which we see them make the Wakandan center.
Yeah. So we go back to the same building that's everything...
been condemned.
That was at the beginning in Oakland. And we figure out that he...
bought that building and the 2 buildings next to it.
To make the Wakandan outreach program.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie.
Yes.
And the end credit sequences, one is a UN meeting, which doesn't really give us anything other than the fact that
Wakanda is now out in the open.
Yeah.
And then the other one, do you remember?
Is Bucky.
Yep, the White Wolf.
So yeah, overall, I liked this movie. It was that really big, the villain issue and the really big glaring CGI issue that I have issues with, but it was a fun movie anyway.
This is pretty cool. John Connor and his son Andawat Connor both played T'Chaka in his old and youth. So they got father and son to play the same role.
That's fun.
To make him look similar. Okay, so I was mistaken earlier. The Black Panther comic was correct in July of 1966, 2 months before the founding of the Black Panther Party.
It was before?
Yes. Many people mistakenly assumed that the name referred to the party, so the character was renamed as the Black Leopard for a while. However, neither the reader nor the creators cared for that title and didn't last long. However, a Black Leopard name gets a nod from T'Challa's battle paint in his fight.
I wonder if the Black Panthers were named after the comic book.
Maybe, but do you remember when was the first time we saw Wakanda? Do you remember? In Iron Man 2. So on the map, we saw a bunch of dots.
Oh,
One was LA, which is Tony. New York's was Cap. New Mexico was Thor. The middle of the sea was Namor, which we haven't seen yet. And then there was one way in Africa, which was Wakanda. Yeah. What was the second time we saw Wakanda? Or heard about Wakanda?
I don't remember these things, dude.
Age of Ultron. When they found out about Ultron stealing the vibranium.
What did you think about the movie?
I like it. It's for me, it's the same. It's just a introduction film. That's what it is.
It's an expository film.
Expository. So T'Challa's new Black Panther suit has the ability to materialize and contain itself inside of his tooth necklace. This is the exact same ability demonstrated by Star-Lord's mask in Guardians of the Galaxy. So his mask is kept in the chip behind his ear.
Yeah.
in Guardians.
So, this is interesting. So, the scar on Eric's body are a form of body modification known as scarification, which is a dying tradition carried out by some African tribes. And some tribes use it as a form of identity/social status to mark milestones achieved in life. And him doing this to his body can be seen as a misguided way for him to connect to his African ancestry.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fascinating, honestly.
This is cool. This is one of the 3 films, Marvel films, that were shown at the exact same time. It was Black Panther, Deadpool 2, and Infinity War. This is the only time that there's been 3 Marvel movies shown at the exact same time.
So, the female warriors, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but they were cast from a pool of actresses, stunt women, and Broadway dancers, so that each individual warrior could have specialized skills that they brought to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And the process of finding these women was so long and difficult that people in the casting department humorously dubbed the search "Finding Dora" because that's the title of the. There's another word, but I'm not going to try to pronounce it.
The Doja.
It's like Milaje.
Yeah, the Doja Milaje.
Dora Milaje.
This was his second comic book movie to win an Oscar for production design. Do you want to guess what the first one was? Batman in 1989. So it was more than 30 years, or almost 30 years, when the next time a comic book movie won an Oscar for product design. That is insane.
This is so interesting. So the Warrior Falls set piece, so the waterfall, filmed in Atlanta, became quite problematic, and in the 10-hour daily shoots,
their eyes were bloodshot after a while, and they couldn't figure out why. For a while.
Production thought that the cause might have been due to the chlorine in the water, but it was ultimately determined that the lengthy exposure to the sun's overhead rays was further exacerbated by the sun's reflection coming off the water. So they had to wear sunglasses between takes.
Yes.
That is insane. The fact that they did that stuff for 10 hours, multiple days.
Because they had to get the scene just right. Because,
yeah, I know.
I mean, that was the first pivotal part of the movie. So where does this one rank for you? Just in Phase 3, where does it rank?
Civil War is definitely the top.
Okay. And then what would be your rankings from Civil War? So from what we've seen from Civil War to Black Panther.
I would say, okay, I don't like Guardians 2 as a movie.
Okay.
But
you like it more
for
informational.
Well,
wise.
Okay, I liked it for the plot twist and the plot twist alone.
Okay.
I thought that it was an enjoyable time to watch it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go Civil War is the top.
Okay.
I really enjoyed Homecoming, and I really enjoyed Ragnarok.
So there's only 3 left.
So then Guardians, Black Panther.
Doctor Strange is last?
I didn't think it. I have to say this. I don't think they're awful. I don't think anything. The only one I don't like is Thor, is the first Thor movie.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are awful.
Okay.
I just.
But it's your least.
Doctor Strange is just such a different vibe.
Yeah. I mean, that's the first time we saw actual,
I will say, we have already watched Infinity War. I need to watch it again because I was hopped up on cold medicine. The appropriate amount of cold medicine, I should say. But nonetheless, I don't really remember it. I do remember enjoying it.
Yeah.
As much as you can enjoy that very sad ending, which is, we will be covering that next week.
Yes.
And, yeah. Do you have anything left to say?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Join us next week as we uncover. Wow. What is wrong with me? I need to go to bed. Join us next week as we cover Avengers Infinity War. And, we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to send us any feedback, you can follow us on Instagram at thefanclub_podcast or Twitter at fanclub_podcast. You can also discuss each episode with us on our subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/thefanclubpodcast. And make sure you tune in every Marvel Monday.